so Drusnovia. Wait. Reject this plan. Accept this plan, but I trust Zenobia. Take her to the main carriers, it ends up badly. You don't trust and you die. Okay, so next choice is just not go after Zenobia this time. Ow. Hey, Daisy. Sleep well.
Lapino had apparently managed to confuse the judge by arguing that he hadn't actually stolen a winged horse. He'd only sold it. But wait, where was the prison? The village was empty. Had everybody fled the Ravens?
No, the Ravens are... There's mine.
Ravens had taken the town. Renato had seen villages emptied like this. All the people taken away to be sacrificed in the Emperor's secret rituals. Renato hoped the people were just hiding.
Just run quickly and grab some of these free chests. Because getting these makes my stuff better.
The village looked so peaceful. Were the villagers hiding somewhere? Of course not. No matter how much he searched, he would only find ravens here. There was a pleasant breeze coming through that door. Had it been closed before?
Now let's move on. What should I increase now?
Nice. That could be useful.
I think this is an easier, quicker way to get to the next area. Or it's not, I'm just stupid. Yeah, I didn't notice this way the first time through, so I'm going this way now.
Lupinos were landing everywhere. The advance guard. He'd better get moving. If they got to Lupino first, they'd eat him for breakfast. Or a snack. Ravens weren't picky. If they got hungry, they sometimes forgot to interrogate their prisoners. Even top spies like Lupino. Well, unless he really was a traitor, obviously. Then they'd probably pin a medal on his chest. Dirty and bloody, Renato finally reached Lupino. The rabbit was practicing his shuffle. Renato recognized the cards. It was Lupino's...
No, this is a different
Capture Zenobia and find out what she knows. And that's the whole war right there. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
Capture the Emperor's greatest general, who happened to also be a deadly sorcerer, and... oh,
Stupid water
his only daughter?
clinic.
That would be
I
worth it.
appreciate
And
it.
it would be nice to see her. He'd always had a soft spot for her. And he felt sure she had one for him. On the other hand, he could still get to the core of the Sky Ripper, even if he couldn't get the whole thing. It must have great power.
This is the next new thing.
To make the Sky Ripper, the Transcendent Emperor had wrapped an armature around the eye of a god. Bernardo had already let that armature slip away to save Lupino's life. But even its core, the eye torn from a god, surely they could fashion a great weapon from that.
The core of the Sky Ripper? Lupino's excited. That's an actual thing that we could just go and get. You've been busy.
He sure had. Renato told him all the things he'd been up to. Soon they got to talking about old times, about wages they'd won and lost, and scrapes they'd barely got out of. It was good to be back with his friend.
Who's
Bernardo
also playing
grinned. He had a very good feeling about this.
I feel like the Emperor didn't know, and now he does know because Lupino's a freaking traitor. There are only 4 endings with Lupino, so plus this somehow gives me another truth and gives
It's
me a
beautiful
different ending.
here, thought Renato. It was nice to be back with his old war buddy. All right. Lupino was a traitor. But still, it was good company.
Yeah, until he puts a knife in your back. Then tell me how good company he was.
Renato had opened a chest, and a Jack-in-the-Box jumped out. Jack-in-the-Boxes, they gave him the Wiggins. Ah, Zenobia. Now that he knew she still loved him, he wanted to go back to her. But that hadn't worked out, had it? Maybe it was time to find the core of the Sky Ripper.
Yeah. Every time I went towards Zenobia, I died. Yeah, I'm not gonna jump down this time, because I had to figure I'm gonna be through here.
You know, ore is pretty heavy to carry. You know what's not? A new sword.
Yeah, when you can give me a new sword out of thin air, just mention that again. I have to wait till I get to a stupid crafting bench, and then I can get your shit.
There was something sour in the air. Like the earth had ruptured over something that had been fermenting for a very long time.
Sort of like a fart.
Renato felt wrong all over. He could feel an almost palpable sickness in the air. And if the land could have tumors, they would look like these monstrous crystals. The forest
Very
was
shifting
quieter
life,
than it had been. There were insects, but few birds, if you didn't count the ravens. Renato smelled sick animals and dying ones, but no healthy ones. And getting a bad feeling about this, Renato thought. Maybe Lapina was right. Maybe they should have kidnapped Zenobia instead of coming here.
I would, but...
Stay away from the other guy's sword, you know? As he held the radiant icosahedron, Renato felt queasy. Like dozens of tiny worms were nibbling his insides. It wasn't healthy to be so close to the eye of a god. How could he use it? He could take it to the observatory. The scientists there could tell him how to harness its ancient power. But honestly, Renato ached to get away from it. He brought the core back with him to the Farfarer. But honestly, Renato ached to be rid of it.
Tell you what, said Lapino. I'll take it to the observatory. You attack the Imperial outpost.
The Imperial outpost was a vital communications node. Taking it could shatter the Empire's ability to coordinate. And it would be full of secret plans and maps and maybe even rebel prisoners. It was a good target for a hero like Renato. But what if this was a ruse so that Lapino could get the core into the hands of the Empire? Was Renato ready to take that risk? Maybe it was better if he brought the core to the scientists himself.
I'm going to go with the
Lapino
Takeover.
was a touchy rabbit. Renato knew that. You're brave, I know, Renato said. But this is what I was hired to do.
Oh, well, at least let me run ahead and warn them you're coming.
Renato wondered if Lapino was up to no good. What if the rabbit warned the Empire instead? Oh, but Lapino wouldn't betray him like that. Not again. Before it'd been a fluke. Right? They finished the trip to the Nexus in silence. He would offer Lapino a chance to betray him, or not to. His old friend deserved another chance to prove true. All right, Renato said. Go.
If you betrays me, then going to the Imperial outpost with that in mind is going to be only because I'm hunting for all the endings.
As Renato watched Lapino vanish on the horizon, he could feel nausea building in him. He felt ill. Could his knees really be aching this much? But how could he have handed the core off to Lapino? That was a recipe for disaster. Of all the artisans he was creating employment for, truly, he was a job creator. time to make a new sword.
Who do I have to kill to get a drink around here? You? Okay.
Yep, same one. That was my fault. I need to kill the blue thing. There was two of them. Next time I see two of them, I'm just going to dash away.
Reynardo felt worse. All his joints were aching now. He'd been through beatings that felt better than this. So the core had a kind of poison that could harm you without even touching you. Well, it had power. The rebellion needed something with power. And how was this any worse than a sword wound? Well, a death by sword was sudden and fair. This was just squalid. A piecemeal death, like old age. The Nexus Observatory had some of the Empire's greatest scientists. If anyone could rig the core into a useful weapon, and even better, make it stop leaking poison, it would be them. Imagine getting a horse up in one of these things. It would be cursing a blue streak. Keep this between us, if you don't mind.
Let's get through this area. I hate poison damage. And they're all dead, and I'm stuck with a poisonous core.
The observatory was a burning hulk. Dead scientists everywhere. Reynardo found the mad rabbit cowering under a desk. The rest had known we were coming, said Lapino. How did you... Well, see, I was doing a card trick with my lucky deck, and I kind of bobbled the cards, so I went under the desk to gather them up, and boom! I guess we'll have to take the car straight to the secret base. Reynardo wasn't sure he believed that, but Lapino was talking so fast. He always seemed to make sense. The secret rebel base. Yes. They had engineers there. But wait. Calaveras. The sage in the mountains. Maybe he would know what to do with the naked core. The core was killing him. He needed help. The sage, Calaveras, had given him the maps to find the armature and the core. If anyone knew the true name of the Transcendent Emperor, if anyone knew how to assemble the Sky Ripper, Calaveras did. If anyone could heal Reynardo and render the core safe, at least to its bearer, surely it was he.
I'm like going tired. My dog sleeping in my lap and it's killing my legs. My legs are going to sleep. Someone hears a pain.
The base of the mountain was the only safe place for a landing. He would have to continue on foot, muscles aching. Calaveras was a scholar, not a doctor. Could he really save Reynardo from the poison radiating from the lost god's eye he was so recklessly carrying?
I just kill your brother?
Fun way to die. Even if he survived. No one would write ballads about the fox whose knees ached forever, would they? Not unless he paid for it. He hated paying for publicity. The road less traveled, thought Renato. How intriguing. Renato hoped his mother wasn't watching. It was chilling, walking through the living mountains. There was always noise up ahead. Insects, birds, the croak and flutter of ravens arranging ambushes. But close by, there was only the breeze and the trickle of melting snow. As if every living thing was holding its breath for his poisonous burden to move on. Already, Renato knew more than he ever had. But about what?
The poison effect is really hard to deal with.
Should really look for another line of work, he thought. And then he died.
That was going to hurt. Actually, it already did.
I'd be dead by now I had healed like I do.
Bye-bye, life, he thought. Hello, emptiness. This is quite the view, he thought.
Game is good. I actually kind of like the art style. It's well made.
Goat. Take the goat across first, Bernardo thought. But it was too late. What was the point of this gate? Did they think no one would notice the lever? Bernardo wasn't sure he should have rescued Lepino. He could have had the Sky Ripper. Now all he had was the core, but it was killing him.
The core! Splendid!
Croaked Calaveras.
Where's the armature?
Right, I was kind of hoping you wouldn't need it.
No, I don't. It's just a professional interest. We've got much better prismatics than the old TE ever did.
So Calaveras was an arcane engineer. He fussed at the core all day. He wrapped it with silver chains, and in front of it, he placed a huge, round ruby, so that it looked like a monstrous, floating eye. Ah, so, what is it?
Yeah, I call it the Oculum. It's my very first death ray.
And it won't poison me?
Oh, no, it's completely safe now.
Anything I should watch out for?
Yeah, try to avoid pointing at any mirrors.
As he loaded the oculum onto the Farfarer, Bernardo was a little concerned about Calaveras. People who were utterly sure of themselves, he had found, were either experts or horribly wrong. Or both. But Bernardo only needed to fire the oculum once. He only needed to destroy one ship, the Emperor's ship, and the war was over. Bernardo plunged into the Imperial fleet. He felt the oculum humming. He no longer felt sick. This was going to be fun. Or at least, it was going to be over.
Do I get to play and shoot? Or am I going to try to do it and then Lapino's gonna stab me in the back, take it, and use it against the rebels? I feel like it's gonna happen like that.
Bernardo resisted the temptation to fire the oculum until the time came. He could sense its arcane energies yearning to escape the sage's wrappings. But it wasn't eating him alive. So that was a plus. He felt good about himself. He'd saved a friend, he'd helped the rebels, he'd relied on himself, but he'd listened to others. He felt like the right sort of hero. Wise, yet decisive. Calaveras had been so sure it would work. Maybe he could fire it just a few times. No harm in that, right? But only when he absolutely needed to. Bernardo's arm was getting tired. The core was no longer eating at him, but he still felt weak. His stamina was shot. But he had the oculum. When the ravens swarmed him, it would sometimes fire its death ray. It seemed to be warming up too, firing more and more often. Maybe he should let it cool off. He decided to stop using it entirely. Building these platforms was so expensive, they'd run out of budget for guardrails.
Interesting. I need to go up to Zenobia's ship first. That's what this is after all.
odd. The oculum was still hot to the touch. He almost thought it was getting even hotter. Well, that was ridiculous, of course. Anyway, he'd only to fire it one more time, and then he could chuck the whole contraption into the abyss. And the Emperor's ship was now in range. Reynardo squinted. He could make out the line of ravens protecting the ship. Zenobia in front, conjuring. And on the deck, yes, that was His Imperial Majesty, pacing in his golden armor. Reynardo lined up his shot and fired. Caught in the beam, the ship burst into flames. The ravens and Zenobia exploded. The Emperor, too, exploded. Reynardo waited for the beam to stop, but it only got brighter, and the oculum hotter. Frantic, Reynardo pulled the oculum towards the abyss. The ruby burst into flames. The shiny metal casing glowed, then melted. That was good. Now the core could cool off, right? Reynardo ran. The blast incinerated him instantly, along with both fleets. The shockwave could be felt across all Erda. That winter, with neither Empire nor rebels to rule them, the islands slid into banditry. And so began the Second Age of Darkness. He should go back to some of the choices he'd faced before. Maybe there were new paths that had opened up, like those doors he was opening up all over the map that took him to new treasures and around his enemies. But he'd learned another true thing. The core was powerful, but dangerous if used improperly.
I've learned too many truths from my rate. I have so many stories to figure out. There's 24 in total. Wow. I don't even know. That probably involves going and getting the gem, hopefully.
The book's pages fluttered to the beginning once again. Faster than before? And he fell. The clouds parted over the Isles of Boreas. It was time to choose. The rebellion was in trouble. Ravens were scouting for the secret rebel base. They needed a game changer. Pieces of the Sky Ripper had surfaced. Reynardo knew that using it could go catastrophically wrong, but he was sure he could figure out how to use it safely. Also, a temple had risen out of empty desert. The Emperor had brought the Sky Ripper pieces up out of ancient burial by his obscene rituals. Could this be where the Iblis Stone was hidden? Someone better get it before he does, thought Reynardo.
I don't want to touch that.
And also, his old friend Lapino needed rescuing. Of course, Reynardo had a pretty strong suspicion that Lapino had betrayed the rebellion. But could Reynardo really leave an old friend to the Ravens? Ah, Lapino.
Ah, you stupid Lapino, this bitch whore. Bum ta dun.
Lapino had apparently managed to confuse the judge by arguing that he hadn't actually stolen the winged horse. He'd only sold it. But wait, where was the prison? The village was empty. Had everybody fled the Ravens? The Ravens had taken the town. Reynardo had seen villages emptied like this. All the people taken away to be sacrificed in the Emperor's secret rituals. Reynardo hoped the people were just hiding.
Now I'm kind of just going a little quicker through this first area because I've noticed that it's stopped giving me stuff. It used to give me ores and stuff, now it's giving me the health and stuff I need. But even the good things aren't showing up as they used to.
Ravens were landing everywhere. The advance guard. He'd better get moving. If they got to Lapino first, breakfast. Or a snack. Ravens weren't picky. If they got hungry, they sometimes forgot to interrogate their prisoners. Even top spies like Lapino. Well, unless he really was a traitor, obviously. Then they'd probably pin a medal on his chest. Dirty and bloody, Renato finally reached Lapino. The rabbit was practicing his shuffle. Renato recognized the
We capture Zenobia, we find out what she knows. And that's the whole war right there. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
capture the Emperor's greatest general, who happened to also be a deadly sorcerer, and, oh, his only daughter? That would be worth it. And it would be nice to see her. He'd always had a soft spot for her. And he felt sure she had one for him. On the other hand, he could still get to the core of the Sky Ripper, even if he couldn't get the whole thing. It must have great power.
I gotta go through the poison
To make the
again
Sky Ripper,
and again. I don't like this option. I don't want the poisoning. I'm not going to see the stage this time. I'm going to the secret military. And pray that I'm not dead in doing so. I feel like if I do go there, I won't
It's
make
beautiful here, thought Renato. It was nice to be back with his old war buddy. All right. Lapino was a traitor. But still, he was good company. There was something sour in the air. Like the earth had ruptured over something that had been fermenting for a very long time. Renato felt wrong all over. He could feel an almost palpable sickness in the air. And if the land could have tumors, they would look like these monstrous crystals. The forest was quieter than it had been. There were insects, but few birds, if you didn't count the ravens. Renato smelled sick animals and dying ones. No healthy ones. I'm getting a bad feeling about this, Renato thought. Maybe Lapino was right. Maybe they should have kidnapped Zenobia instead of coming here. Oh look! Fracking. As he held the radiant icosahedron, Reynardo felt queasy, like dozens of tiny worms.
Tell you what, said Lupino. I'll take it to the observatory. You attack the Imperial outpost. The Imperial outpost was a vital communications node. Taking it could shatter the Empire's ability to coordinate. And it would be full of secret plans and maps and maybe even rebel prisoners. It was a good target for a hero like Reynardo.
But what if Lupino lost the core to the Empire? That could be a good thing, couldn't it? Was Reynardo ready to take that risk? Maybe it was better if he brought the core to the scientists himself. Lupino was a touchy rabbit. As Reynardo watched Lupino vanish on the horizon, he could feel nausea building in him. He felt ill. Could his knees really be aching this much? But how could he have handed the core off to Lupino? That was a recipe for disaster.
Kind of charging through this area now because I don't like the poison effect. I just want to get this out of the way. Oh my god.
Reynardo felt worse. All his joints were aching now. He'd been through beatings that felt better than this.
So the core had a
Kind of poison that could harm you without even touching you. That's new. Well, it had power. The rebellion needed something with power. And how was this any worse than a sword wound? Well, a death by sword was sudden and fair. This was just squalid. A piecemeal death, like old age. Reynardo had always wanted a flying carpet. This was more like a flying tabletop. It would do. in a swirl of newly remembered knowledge. It needed to focus.
I need to switch gems, actually. I'm gonna put the one that allows me to knock through their swords, their shields, because that make everything so much easier. I don't need the loot one, because I already got all my loot, so yeah. I'll just replace that with the sword. Or shield breaker.
The observatory was a burning hulk. Dead scientists everywhere. Bernardo found the Mad Rabbit cowering under a desk. Bernardo wasn't sure he believed that, but Lupino was talking so fast. It always seemed to make sense. The secret rebel base. Yes. They had engineers there. But wait. Calaveras, the sage in the mountains. Maybe he would know what to do with the naked core.
I know what happens if you believe him.
Ah, yes. The secret base. Not even Lupino knew where it was. They had engineers there. Those toads would surely know what to do with the core's power.
And then he would be free of it.
But
no.
He couldn't take Lupino. The core would work its evil on him too. You stay here.
Give me the coordinates. I'll meet you there.
Lupino seemed awfully anxious to have the coordinates of the secret rebel base. Someone needs to bury these scientists.
Well, why do I get all the fun jobs?
And with that, Bernardo returned to the Farfarer and took off.
Me die from this time. I feel like Lupino is going to betray me, and this is going to be a Lupino ending. Or it could be a core ending. I really don't know what endings are supposed to end up like what anymore. It's like, I expected some of these to be Lupino endings, but they have not been. I have 3 of those endings to find.
The ruins were quiet, but Bernardo could hear a buzzing in his ears. Was it bugs? Or was it the core slowly feeding him poison? The council would know what to do. If the core had this much power, it could surely change the terms of the great battle that was coming. And maybe they would take this burden from him. Maybe. He missed her. Not Zenobia. Hypatia, the kid's mother. Bernardo had never thought he'd date a librarian. He'd always figured himself for the barmaid type. But then, he'd never figured the library of Ubar would have comic books, or that Hypatia would know anything about them. He missed her. No wonder his mother had told him to eat his fruit. The Empire's chokehold was closing around the rebellion. The base was still secret for now, but for how long? They would have to make a move soon. The core. They had to find a way to use the core.
We literally have everything maxed, so there's like no point inside exploring. Oh, have it! Not everything's maxed, it's literally just how quick can I
come to this? Bernardo had signed on as an adventurer. Sure, the Emperor had gone mad,
Sure, Renato had heard horrors from the ghosts of dead kittens and puppies sacrificed in his blasphemous rituals. But when he jumped in, he'd only been a little bored and slightly broke. And here he was, carrying a bucket of death across a broken landscape. Why not drop it and run? Because he hated to quit in the middle. That was his fatal flaw. He had to know how it all turned out.
This is really fun now that I have my maxed everything on like weapons and stuff, so I can just kind of barge through these quicker. Take out the ones I need, not all of them.
The long stairs. So he was close to the rebel base. Nothing was on fire. So far, so good.
Let's go.
He dropped the core at the entrance to the council chambers.
Get that thing out of here.
Croaked the speaker.
It's making us sick.
That's the core of the Sky Ripper, said Renato.
No, it's not useless at all.
Said an engineer toad.
It's poisonous. Look at the fox. He's ill. Probably dying.
Yeah, not useless at all, said Renato. So what do I do? Rub it on His Majesty? The engineer chuckled. Renato didn't like it when engineers chuckled. Oh, I got it. Listen, I can make a bomb and spread bits of the core all over a circle about 100 paces wide. Yeah. Little chunks of poison and death. All you have to do is just get it near the Emperor. It'll kill him and his bodyguard and chop off the head of the fleet. Yeah, and if we're lucky, might poison some of the ravens around there as well. What about me? Right, what about you? Well, I'll build in a timer. You can set it and run. No, that's a horrible idea, said Renato.
Well, we have to do something, yes?
Said the speaker.
This is something.
Renato couldn't argue with that. And so, reluctantly, Renato loaded the rigged core onto the Farfarer and set sail towards the Emperor's ship.
So
The
let's
rebels
see.
took the fight to the Imperial fleet, but Renato was too sick to enjoy the view. He must have passed out as a firm hand grabbed him and shoved him forward. This was it.
A firm hand. Who's grabbing me and thrusting me forward into this? Boom, 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 boom.
The fleet seemed very big, and its ravens very tough. Or maybe he was just slower and weaker than before. He hated the idea of poisoning the enemy. It wasn't fair. Face to face with a Raven, let the best swordsman survive. But they wouldn't even know what was killing them. Feather by feather, scale by scale. He didn't mind dying a hero. That sometimes went with being a hero. But he didn't feel at all like a hero. Not today.
Duties.
This thing really needed a roof.
He was exhausted. He was making stupid mistakes. His fur was coming off in bunches. Up ahead, he could see the Emperor's ship, long and sleek, a floating palace. The bomb would only poison a circle 100 paces wide. He would get as close as he could, set it, and run. Oh, this was a lousy way to win a rebellion, he thought. He didn't want a medal for this. He just wanted to be forgotten.
You'll be forgotten very quickly.
I should go, he thought.
Yeah, I need to go after the blue guys first. It seems really easy nowadays.
Renato twisted the timer on the bomb as far as it would go and staggered off. His knees hurt. Oh, everything hurt.
He's gonna die
staggered away
fighting
as
there.
far as he could until he had to lie down. He could see the entire Imperial fleet from here, and the rebel ships engaged with it. There was a blinding flash.
And a second later, a monstrous thump. Burning rocks arced across the sky over both fleets. A wreath of fire shot outwards, rolling across the fleets. A pillar of smoke boiled up from where the Emperor's ship had been. It reached into the clouds. That's a wee bit more than 100 paces, thought Reynardo. It took Reynardo most of that evening to die. Some of the toughest ravens lasted all week. Some of the rebels in the furthest ships survived as much as a month. That winter, with neither Empire nor rebels to rule them,
so the core
the islands slid
using
into
it either
banishment.
way.
And so began the second age of darkness.
The scientists were the only one who probably could have actually used it.
He should go back to some of the choices he'd faced before. Maybe there were new paths that had opened up. Like those doors he was opening up all over the map that took him to new treasures and around his enemies. And he hadn't learned anything new this time. He'd done the same thing twice, yet expected a different outcome.
Well, yeah, I did get
Book's
it.
pages fluttered to the beginning once
Somewhat.
again. Faster than before, and he fell. The clouds parted over the Isles of Boreas. It was time to choose.
Lupino,
The rebellion was in
Sky
trouble.
Core, and then
Ravens were
go to
scouting for the secret
Imperial
rebel base.
communications.
They needed a game changer. Pieces of the Sky Ripper had surfaced. Reynardo knew that using it could go catastrophically wrong. But he was sure he could figure out how to use it safely. Also, Temple had risen out of empty desert. The Emperor had brought the Sky Ripper pieces up out of ancient burial by his obscene rituals. Could this be where the Iblis Stone was hidden? Someone better get it before he does, thought Reynardo. And also,
The Iblis
his old
Stone
friend
is
Lapino
the last
needed
truth, something about
course.
it.
Reynardo had a pretty strong suspicion that Lapino had betrayed the rebellion. But could Reynardo really leave an old friend to the Ravens? Ah, Lapino.
Let's just follow the I'll get somewhere new this time. I think I've been recording this session for a while, so after this storyline's done, I'm gonna probably stop and restart it. That way people who watch it later won't have
confuse the
to
judge by
spend so
arguing that
long.
he hadn't actually stolen a winged horse. He'd only sold it.
Hey, Robert. Did
Hey.
Boston just happen to randomly
Where
leave?
was the prison?
Randomly
The
leave
village was
what?
empty.
Was he in your party?
No?
Had everybody fled the Ravens?
Oh. I was gonna say that if he was in here, he probably would have randomly just left. Because I signed on as him on my PlayStation to deactivate as my people are being his party. Also, did you get any battle packs from the thing?
One. But that was
What'd you get?
for an hour. That wasn't for the whole night. The whole night I got 0.
Oh wow.
Also, I might give up on Mortal
People were
Kombat for a
frightened
while.
these days. Just
Why?
2 weeks
Did something
passed.
happen?
Reynardo had
I got
sneaked through
beat
an
by
empty
2
town
different
and
Melina
listened
players
to the
because they
Ravens'
kept
call at
spamming the
Emperor's
same
notice
combo
and
over
ritual
again every
sacrifice.
time I tried to stand up. And then I lost to another guy immediately after that because none of my combos would work. Not even my combos, just the button inputs weren't working for some reason. And I lost because of it really badly.
Ravens were landing everywhere. The advance guard. He'd better get moving. If they got to Lapino first, they'd eat him for breakfast. Or a snack. Ravens
If you
weren't
want,
picky.
in a minute I'll play
If they got
something
hungry,
with
they
you.
sometimes forgot to interrogate their prisoners.
Me and Boston
Even
are
top
actually gonna
spies
play
like
Battlefield
Lapino.
4.
Well,
Okay.
unless he really was a traitor, obviously. Then they'd probably pin a medal on his
Have
chest.
fun with that then.
Hey, Boston. Just so you know, I gave you your
Renato
primary bet.
finally reached Lapino.
I will steal
The
it.
rabbit was practicing his shuffle.
Yeah.
Bernardo reckoned we capture
Want to play some
Zenobia,
Battlefield 4?
we find out what she knows. And that's the whole war right there. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Capture the Emperor's greatest general, who happened to also be a deadly sorcerer.
It's under account management and settings.
His only daughter? That would be worth it. And it would be nice to see her. He always had a soft spot for her. And he felt sure she had one for him. On the other hand, he could still get to the core of the Sky Ripper, even if he couldn't get the whole thing. It must have great power.
Alright, so, Boston.
To make the Sky Ripper, the transcendent
You know what I wanna do?
Emperor had wrapped an...
And I
Eye of a
muted
god.
them because
Bernardo had already let that armature slip away
I don't
to save
want
Lapino's
to
life.
accidentally have to like
Even its core,
get rid of this
the
recording
eye
because
torn
their
from a
mics
god.
are like
Surely they could
garbly,
fashion a great weapon
robotic,
from
like
that.
it's been
The
lately.
core of the Sky Ripper.
Kind of make me mad.
Lapino's excited. That's an actual thing that we could just go and get. You've been busy. He sure had.
Oh, I forgot to skip. There we go. Just set up a hotkey to start and stop. To stop things really.
It's beautiful here, thought Renato. It was nice to be back with his old war buddy. All right. Lapino was a traitor. But still, he was good company.
Didn't mean to do that one. Let's see how the way goes, because it's a different way. I feel like I'm gonna have to do this route one more time after this one in the next video, because it's always like 3 sets of 2 choices.
There was something sour in the air. Like the earth had ruptured over something that had been fermenting for a very long time. Weird how portals never told you where they went to. I mean, they would kill them to put up a sign or something.
Go ahead and mute him before he becomes a potential problem vocally.
Renato felt wrong all over. He could feel an almost palpable sickness in the air. And if the land could have
I
humans,
think I'm going
they
to
would have like these
actually
monstrous
take
crystals.
these and cut
The
them.
forest was
Then
quiet
replant.
than it seemed. There were insects, but few birds. We didn't have the ravens. Renato smelled sick animals and dying. No healthy ones. I'm getting a bad feeling about this. Renato thought. Maybe Lapino was right. Maybe he should have kidnapped Zenobia instead of coming here. As he held the radiant icosahedron, Renato felt
long words.
dozens of tiny worms. Tell you what, said Lapino. I'll take it to the observatory. You attack the Imperial outpost.
Fine, Lapino, you do
The
it
Imperial
this time.
outpost was a vital communications node. Taking it could shatter the Empire's ability to coordinate. And it would be full of secret plans and maps and maybe even rebel prisoners. It was a good target for a hero like Reynardo. But what if Lupino lost the core to the Empire? That could be a good thing, couldn't it? Was Reynardo ready to take that risk? Maybe it was better if he brought the core to the scientists himself. Trust me, Reynardo, you won't regret this. I'll treat the core like it was my own baby daughter. As the Farfarer dived towards the Nexus, Lupino was jumping up and down with excitement. "Stop rabbiting around," Reynardo said. Lupino just stared at him. The moment the ship landed, Lupino leapt off the ship.
Stupid Imperial Sway. You're gonna kill yourself, yay. I don't have to kill you. You can just kill yourself. I'm going to do the Imperial outposts.
As Lupino vanished into the wilds of the Nexus, Reynardo vaguely remembered Lupino had a baby daughter, didn't he? And he told her mother he was going out to get some Easter eggs, and he'd never come back. But Reynardo was relieved not to carry the core anymore. He was already feeling better. And who knows, maybe this time Lupino would get it right. And if Reynardo could take the outpost, he'd have access to all the Empire's communications in the sector. Right? Imagine if you built a house on one of these things. Oh, that would be amazing. It would be like having a boat. Reynardo caught his breath. His joints still hurt, but he couldn't feel the poison in his system anymore. He'd let the armature slip out of his hands to save his friend Lupino. Of course he had to let Lupino take the core. The rebellion needed every man doing his duty. And the rabbit would be no good taking on an Imperial outpost, right?
No, he wouldn't, because I'm literally the only one in any of these timelines who's done killing, like actual fighting. Everyone else has been there, quote unquote, fought, so I don't know who's actually fought.
Reynardo took the outpost with a song in his heart. Soon, he was stuffing his sack with key messages from and to the fleet. Then the Farspeaker Toad chortled a new message. The observatory had been sacked by ravens. Lupino and all the scientists had been taken to the mountains. Why? Why had he trusted Lupino again? And now the Empire had the core. Reynardo hailed the rebel base to warn them. But their Farspeaker didn't crouch back. Was the base under attack too? Who knew what was going on at the base? But he knew what the ravens would do to Lupino if Reynardo didn't rescue him fast. Well, actually he wasn't exactly sure. It kind of depended on whether Lupino was a traitor or not. Reynardo just couldn't bring himself to believe that. What are old friends for, if not to need rescuing every few days?
Let's rescue Lupino. Let's rescue Lupino. You know, he's fucking stupid. Is this a Lupino in? Because I'm going to go rescue him. Or is this a core end?
Reynardo felt a twinge of doubt. Should he have gone to the base? No. Logically, wherever they'd taken Lupino was probably where they took the core, right? Oh, why couldn't Lupino have just, for once, not got himself captured? Was that too much to ask? He shouldn't be too hard on the rabbit. No, he meant well, and he was insanely brave. You had to admire that. There was a sign. Take the goat across
first. Yeah, I still have not figured out what that cryptic message is supposed to mean.
Where were they holding Lupino anyway? There was no sign of him or the ravens who'd captured him. Just rocks and snow and the usual scouts. No sign of the core either. Was this a wild rabbit chase? Oh, trust Lupino to screw up even getting captured. But what was this rebellion for anyway? Lupino was a useless goof. But he was a friend. If friends didn't matter anymore, what was the point of winning this war?
Oh, kill the fox!
Cord the ravens. Nobody said they were original.
Nothing gets your blood pumping like a bit of killing. The rebellion would soon be engaging the Imperial fleet in a desperate battle. All Reynardo had done was save a friend. It didn't feel as good as he'd hoped. At the end of the mountain path, Reynardo came to a clearing. There was a campfire, raven feathers, and... oh... Lupino's lucky deck of cards. Well, that wasn't good. Reynardo hoped Lupino had not tried to cheat his captors at cards. Ravens were much better than weasels at counting, and they had a very poor sense of humor. Then, he saw what he had hoped never to see. Fresh scraps of rabbit fur. Ragged and bloody, ravens would eat anything.
By Grabthar's hammer!
Bernardo screamed at the sky.
I will avenge you!
The rebels had assembled their fleet. Ahead, the clouds were dark with Imperial ships. If he could reach the Emperor before the rest of the rebels did, maybe he could settle this without too much bloodshed. He set sail, and the Farfarer shot forward.
Well, I didn't have much of a choice there. I guess I'm going to kill the Emperor. That's where I end up, I guess, every time except for the... Actually, there was no time. I've never ended up here, so... That's good, I guess.
Poor Lepino had never been a great warrior. The Mad Rabbit was good for a lark and a laugh. And a pint. The thought of ravens eating him made Bernardo furious. The way they were eating up the land. The way the Emperor was eating up the people with his new, bloodthirsty ways. He would make them all pay. A portal that led right into the middle of the fleet. It was a glaring weakness in the defense. A very clever engineer named Elon Muskrat had got his start making floating platforms. Not many people knew that. He had given up every objective to save his friend. He had given up the armature, the core, the gem, and even Zenobia. He loved Lepino, he realized. Now the rabbit was gone. A hero looks out for his friends, even when they're gone. He would send Lepino an honor guard of ravens to serve him in the halls of the Valiant. He would avenge him.
Finally, he reached the Emperor's ship. And there was Lapino, surrounded by ravens. He was alive. They'd eaten some other rabbit. "I'll save you!" he shouted with joy and flung himself at the ravens. "Aw, you shouldn't have," said Lapino when the last raven was down. Renato threw his arms around his best friend. "I had to come. I love you, man. You really, really shouldn't have," said Lapino. And Renato felt a rather sharp pain in his back. As he collapsed, Lapino took the dagger out of Renato's back and wiped it off on Renato's sleeve. "Why, you always have to be the hero. Brave Renato, epic Renato, super sexy Renato, and I'm sick of it." As Renato died, all he could think was, "Damn it, fooled again."
Yeah.
He should go back to some of the choices he'd faced before. Maybe there were new paths that had opened up, like those doors he was opening up all over the map that took him to new treasures and around his enemies. And he hadn't learned anything this time. He'd done the same thing twice, yet expected a different outcome. The book's pages fluttered to the beginning once again, faster than before.
So I'm gonna end it
And he
here
fell.
for now.
The clouds parted.